So how did the idea for Sukie's Strange Garden of Woodland Creatures come about?
Well, I can't remember exactly how it happened, but I started writing a daily bulletin on Facebook I always wake up with stuff going on in my head, and I thought it would sort of get it out so I could get all this nonsense. I would put it on Facebook until, so that I could get on to do my work, my sensible stuff later. So it ended up with these silly stories, and they all started with the same line, and they all ended with the same line, and they were pretty ridiculous. And it went on for about 3 years, and somebody said it should be published. But I thought it didn't work without illustrations, and then some people tried to actually illustrate the book, and it never happened. You know, people had trouble drawing rabbits that knit. You know, I don't see the problem. If I could paint, I'd know what to paint, I'd know what to draw, but I'm not an artist. And then I found Roy in the garden under a big leaf.
Doing what?
I don't know what you were doing. I don't know what you were doing under the leaf. But I distinctly remember going into the garden and lifting a big leaf and finding you underneath.
Oh, how nice.
with a little pen.
With a little pen and saying, I'm ready!
You're like waiting. It's almost like you're waiting there.
So how did the collaboration work? Because the pieces you did on Facebook were really just very small things, and now it had to take, there was a framework there, so there were a lot of the characters that had appeared in the daily Facebook postings, but now you had to turn them into stories. So
right, I never actually read them. That was the strange thing about it. I would type them in the morning, but I never actually read any.
They were great.
Did you read them?
Flights of fantasy of you know, what animals you're going to meet, what they're going to be doing, what you would be doing, and just what you know, like crazy things would be going on.
Did you actually read them?
Well, no, I didn't read them until like a year after you had, no, about the same time you moved here.
Oh, okay.
Because that's when I discovered you, and you were writing all these things every morning, and they would pop up on my feed, and it's like, oh, look at this. And I'm reading it. It's like, oh my God, this is fun.
oh yeah, it did start in Chicago.
Yeah, it did.
So
Yeah, there's
right.
there's a picture of me sitting, a photograph of me sitting by a Route 66 sign somewhere in California, and where I'm waiting for the Woodland Creatures to arrive, because they came in like a circus. They came by road. I flew here with Ian the dogs, but they came on the road like this train of circus vehicles, and there's a picture of me waiting for them by this sign.
So
No, I don't know. I was writing them, but people were reacting very positively, and I thought they were insane. I thought, what's wrong with these people? You know, but when I went back to them, some of them were only 3 lines. I mean, I had to turn, there were skeletons of stories there. And like, you could see the plot. But I actually had to rewrite all of them, and then there's a lot of new ones, and some of them are so rewritten they might as well be new, you know, because it changed everything about it.
well, Roy, so you know, Sukie approached you to do this, and then you were tasked
Did you
with.
give me like 5 of them to start?
Yeah, I might have said to you, I'll give you, that sounds like something I'd do. I probably wrote 5 of them.
Yeah.
I gave them to you to make sure.
See what you could do with this.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think you couldn't do it. It's just I've had a load of people that couldn't do it.
Yeah. Well, there were some. I mean, it's part of my like dilemma, and a lot of them were. They had so many things going on, and I just was totally overwhelmed with what was going on.
Right.
And how do you illustrate that? How did, when I thought that person's mind that was reading it would be the best thing to illustrate it, up in your head. And the ones that I could illustrate, they were just a moment in time in that story that I thought was funny.
So you got the stories and you had the challenge to figure out how to illustrate.
I mean,
them.
there were a couple that I thought were great ideas, that I started doing the illustration to. I even have a final, and then setting down to actually ink them in, it was just, how do you do that? It was easier doing it as a pencil drawing than as a pen and ink drawing. So some of them just were, no, it's not working. And so I went on to another story instead.
Well, so there are about, I think, over 25, 26 illustrations in the book. Which
Full page.
Full page
There's
illustrations.
120.
Yeah, there's 120, but full page illustrations are about 26. Was there one that you found particularly challenging?
They were all challenging, really challenging. Just, doing research and on particular animals and what they look like and what their habits were, and just how their paws went, just so I could get it right, so I wouldn't be like, okay, they're all ambidextrous, and they really aren't, and actually some of them only have 3 and some only have 4, and da-da-da. But, the challenge was doing the research and, getting animal that is working well with Sukie, or doing something that's happening within the story.
I remember you said you were in the middle of illustrating one, and you had expressed a challenge showing a giraffe trying on high-heeled shoes.
Yes. Yeah, sitting down to put the shoes on. It's like, okay, how would you have to figure out how the legs would be going, considering, this is shorter, this is longer, this is way long, and then it's a whole different setup than people are. And I once I got that down, that's where I came up with the last drawing for the back cover, where I actually found this great picture of a model sitting down in a director's chair, and it was just perfect, and all I had to do was figure out the legs again. But yeah, it was great fun once I figured it all out.
Which is your favorite illustration?
My favorite is a panda. No, actually there's 2. One's Sukie holding a panda where they're getting ready to jump, and I believe parachute down.
I think that's flying like animal kites.
No.
No. Oh, okay.
No, the other one is flying like animal kites, where there's an elephant, a squirrel, and there's another animal that I illustrated within it. Oh no, that brings me to a third one that I really like too. But yeah, where there's a squirrel that looks terrified, that's flying up in the air. When I originally drew it, and I turned it upside down, and it looked better upside down. And that's the way it is. From now on, it's supposed to be that way, not this way. The other one was the water sprouts. How was that?
Yeah, that's right. They go to I think it's on the Sea of Heartbreak, and there's water spouts, and all the woodland creatures are going out, and then they get
shut up by a water spout. And there's an otter, there's a cheetah, and another animal. And I did just the expressions on their faces, having so much fun on these water spouts. And it's like, okay, and if it was really, really a water spout, those animals would not survive.
Well, a lot of odd things. I mean,
a lot of odd things happen in the garden.
In the real world, badgers do not run bakeries and bake donuts.
Baked donuts.
Yes.
No, that reminds me of that video too.
So there was the one of the badgers with the donuts that taste like folk singers.
Yeah, I could see them ripping up,
It was
dough and just being creative that way.
It was actually hard to. What surprised me is it's the hardest thing I've ever edited. I thought it was going to be easy, and I've written history books and serious articles and for academic journals and that, but it was definitely the hardest thing to edit, because even though it's bizarre and all over the place and there's no logic involved in it, it still has to work as a story. It still has to be sad or happy or funny or profound. My favorite ones are the ones where you think there's something profound is being said, but you can't actually work out what it is. I mean, that was a fun challenge, to make something look like it was really wise and important, but actually makes no sense whatsoever. That was quite challenging. And there's still 84 of them. Yeah, so.
And it took quite a long time for how long would it take you, Roy, to produce each drawing?
Well, granted, I have a regular other job besides illustrating, and that was, I would work my regular job, come home, work 2 to 3 hours on the drawings every night. On my days off, it would be, I'd go to the gym, then come back home, spend some time on the drawings, just be social with my husband.
Yeah.
And then go back at it and start drawing some more.
What was from when you started, how long did it take to produce the final book?
About a year.
So that book, Sukie's Strange Garden of Woodland Creatures, took about a year to produce.
It was about a year.
Because between the writing and the illustrating.
Well, I was writing them as we went along, and Roy was illustrating them as we went along. It's not like I gave him a final manuscript.
No, it was every week I would be
when I had something,
getting a bunch.
I gave it to him. But I don't think I suggested anything for the artwork, because I wanted to see what Roy was going to, to have complete control over everything that he drew. I didn't have any suggestions about what to draw at all. I didn't want to be involved in it.
Would you say it was a successful collaboration?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was very it was very professional. And did you
I
laugh?
still had a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you laugh when you were doing it? Because I certainly laughed when I was writing it. I was surprised what came out of my head. I mean, donuts that taste like folk singers.
Oh no! Later on, when I said, "Oh, I'll illustrate each animal and what they're singing for the dawn chorus," and it's like, "Oh my God, I have to illustrate a fuzzy ball." singing such and such, and it's like, okay, we'll try this.
Yeah, just to repeat, there are about 26, 28 full-page illustrations, but every single story has a little illustration.
Yeah.
Because every story starts with an animal singing
every
the
story
dawn.
starts. Every story starts with the same line. I stepped out onto the patio, and something or other was singing the dawn chorus, and every story ends with the same line.
I think the most unusual one, I'm thinking about, the book layout and going through every illustration, was where there's an envelope singing the Dawn Chorus.
Yes, Led Zeppelin, Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah, so the envelope singing Led Zeppelin, Stairway to Heaven, I found amusing.
That took me a little while, but I mean, you know, I put it aside, start illustrating some of the other ones. I come to it again. Did anything pop into my head? Nope. I'll go to it and do a couple more, and eventually it's like, well, why don't I do this? And yeah. Finally.
So there's the book launch that's coming up. So, you know, we're now in July of 2019. At the end of the month, we have the book launch that's going to be going on. What's next up? Are the two of you going to be working together again? Is it going to be more garden stories, or what do you think is on the horizon?
Well, we do have an idea. We are going to be working on something else together. It's secret. It's not garden stories. We come up with another idea, and we're going to be working on it a little bit slower this time. I'm going to be writing the stories and giving them to Roy when it's done, because I'm working on a lot of other things.
And it's also more with the illustrations being immersed with the topography of the story itself,
you wanted to do some.
So it would be
differently.
Yeah.
So
where the whole thing looks a little bit more organic, and you know, between the illustration and what the story is.
Well, this was a first foray into, you know, writing and illustrating. I mean, you know, but to putting them together.
Well, I thought I'd never find anybody that understood those stories, and also I'm surprised by how popular they are. I mean, they really are unusual.
They're fun stories. They really are.
What surprised you, Sukie? What surprised you the most about Roy?
That he could actually interpret my thoughts. He actually
a challenge in itself.
No, he actually thought that the stories were funny and the stories were interesting. He got it, really. And I think that's a pretty rare thing.
No.
I mean, I felt completely safe. No, I didn't feel I had to say, well, why don't we do, you know, 3 tequila bunnies there. I didn't feel I had to say anything. I just enjoyed handing the stories over and letting him go crazy with the stories in it.
Roy, what surprised you the most about working with Sukie and about this?
It was really easy to do. I mean, I thought I would be intimidated, but I wasn't. Sukie's really easy to get along with. I really enjoy the company. I mean, we hang out every once in a while, which is fun. I mean, thrift stores. But yeah, I mean, but you could, I got more into his mind hanging out with him that way, and just how his mind would work, just hanging with him, and just how the stories go too. That, I mean, the stories are meant not to be serious. I mean, in some cases they are serious, in some cases they aren't, but it's more or less have fun with life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's about discovery.
Yeah. Take a challenge.
It is. It's about, everybody needs to have, like, carve out their own secret world. And it's somewhere to go in your mind. Other people do it in different ways too. But I've got a secret world, and it's out in the garden with all these people, these woodland creatures. They're quite, in a way, I think they're more human than I am. I mean, they have trouble, they have problems. I'm the janitor of lunacy. And the janitor of lunacy comes from a song by Nico. And I wanted to use it when I first heard the song back in the 70s, but it took obviously decades before I could do that. And my job is to go out there and sort out all these problems. And some of them are very, very strange. My favorite I think one of my favorite stories is I remember you comment. I don't know if you did it. I don't think you drew it actually. Is the day that we all hang out our floppy Susans.
Yeah.
Wake up in the morning, I go into the garden, and the woodland creatures say, "Well, you know what day it is?" And I say, "Yes, it's my favorite day in the social calendar of St. Sukie's strange garden of woodland creatures. Today, we hang out our floppy Susans." And the woodland creature says to me, "Do you have a floppy Susan?" I think, "Of course I've got a floppy Susan." And there's all these animals and creatures walking past with their floppy Susans. And I get my floppy Susan, I throw it over my shoulder, and off we go, because it's hanging out your floppy Susan day.
What is a floppy Susan?
And that's why I didn't.
That's why I didn't draw it.
Because it would be more in someone's mind. You know, how can you take that away from a reader? I didn't want to impose what my thought of that was. Just like the other one that you said that you loved was the share, what is it, the toenails painted with Bob Mackey.
Right. Because
it's like,
I forget who it is. Is it the Zen hens or something? There's some creature on the beach, and it's where they do all the beautification of the animals. And that's where I go and get my nails. I think I have. Isn't it one of them like a Viking funeral or something painted on the nails? And I know it's Cher. You can get Cher painted on the nails. Bob Mackey.
yeah, in a Bob Mackey gown.
Mm.
And you even said which particular Bob Mackey gown it was.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So I'm going to ask each of you, the same question. So I'll start with you, Roy. What do you think the woodland animals would like to tell people watching this video interview?
To have fun with life. Don't be so serious with yourself and everyone else. Enjoy friends, enjoy just the company of others, or just the company of yourself in your own skin.
And Sukie, I'll ask you, what do you think the woodland creatures would want to tell people watching this?
I think, well, last time I saw the woodland creatures was this morning when I went out. And the wooden daffodils all around the pool, for some reason, throwing these tea bags. Because they got some project going, they want to make the biggest cup of tea in the world. So I go out, because there's tea bags all over the pool.
And is it Earl Grey?
It's Earl Grey. And I asked them what they were doing, and that's when they said they're making the biggest cup. So I didn't want any more information. Sometimes in the garden, it's just better not to know. It's like there's a story in the book about throwing vacuum cleaners into the bottomless pit for repair.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I think what they would say is, you don't always need logic. Sometimes you can just throw it away. You can have a private world where all the cares of the world, or the politics, and all the logic, and all that, you have to make sense, and you have to dress this way or that way. That doesn't work in your private world. I go into the gardens and it's complete chaos. I never ever know whether there's going to be a chocolate sprinkle rainstorm, pouring down on my head.
Well, that would be great. Put your umbrella upside down.
That's right.
Jump in your pool.
In your pool.
And you end up somewhere in the garden.
Yeah, because once you
in another pool.
Right. If there's a door, open it. If there's a door upside down, stand on your head and open it.
Well, I want to thank you both, and just so that to remind everyone, we've been discussing Saint Sukie's Strange Garden of Woodland Creatures with Saint Sukie Delacroix, who wrote the stories, and Roy Alton Wald, who illustrated them. And the book is available from your local bookseller. If it's not there on the shelf, they can order it for you. Or you can also get it on Amazon.com. Thanks, guys.